We are the last session of our first week, and we already know the first ingredient of our remedy for human misery. For getting to the ultimate wisdom, understanding the unity, and that ingredient was love. The general idea of love developed inside us without the need of any outside subject or object. And we know one practical technique that takes us closer to our goal as well, to listen without judgment. The listening in general, to within and without, fear of all preconceptions. This is essentially what nowadays is called open-mindedness. And now, in this last session of this week, we hear the last words of the story that the Ney was recounting to us from the beginning. And after that, the symbolic Ney will finish his complaints and we hear what Rumi has to add to the conversation. در غم ما روزها بیگاه شد. روزها با سوزها همراه شد. روزها گر رفت گو رو باک نیست. تو بمان ای آنکه چون تو پاک نیست. هر که جز ماهی ز آبش سیر شد. هر که بی روزیست روزش دیر شد. در نیابد حال پخته هیچ خام. پس سخن کوتاه باید بس سلام. In this sorrow, our days passed, and pain became a constant part of our days. But if life is past, it does not concern me. What concerns me is you stay with me, as pure and real as you are. Any creature will be satiated from drinking water except fish, and one who does not have something to overcome thirst is leading a hard life. An unseasoned one cannot comprehend the feelings of the mature one. Thus, it is better not to speak anymore. Peace be upon you. So the Ney finishes its complaints as such. The symbolic Ney, the pantheistic humankind born with an intrinsic tendency towards unity and love, a tendency which creates an ever-present sense of pain and loneliness and sorrow inside. And the Ney knows that most of his days are already gone in that sorrow before it knows how to defeat it. In a way, Ney is a symbol for humankind, but also a persona for Rumi himself as well. He also found the path to redemption later in life. And before that, for both Rumi and the Ney, pain has been a constant part of their life. Just as it may be for me and you. Deep down, we know we lack something, but we don't know what. I guess that is one of the reasons you are here, isn't it? And it was one of the reasons I started studying these subjects, and I am still but a learner. But simultaneously, if there is a hope for redemption, then it is not the wise thing to do to ruminate on the past and be remorseful about it. It should not concern us. But what should concern us is to find that path towards the secret that is within. The path we already started with one ingredient and one technique, love and non-judgmental listening. And then in the poem, the Ney addresses someone who is called pure and real. Some say it is Mowlana himself, since this prologue is kind of a dialogue between the Ney and Mowlana. Some say it is God, or any metaphysical presence that you think has some sense of purity. Some say it is more materialistic than that, and it is Mowlana asking Shams to stay instead of going away for the rest of his journey. And the last group, with which I agree more, believe that the Ney, the symbolic human, is addressing himself that inner love, and that is the pure thing, that inner love is the pure thing. The reason that even in complete solitude, the feeling of loneliness will not be there anymore. You can take it or leave it, or you can side with any of the other interpretations, or you can listen to the poem again and come up with your own interpretation. But one thing is obvious here. Dene is not concerned with the life wasted in ignorance, because this pure thing, anything it is there with it. Then uses a metaphor itself. It's kind of like a poetry inside poetry. It talks about all creatures that drink water to be satiated, except fish. Fish never get satiated. They are always drinking, and their life is dependent on water. This water is a symbol for that unending connectedness of unity of love in this pantheistic model. Many beings in the universe may not need love or may get to their level of unity easily, but humankind is like fish. Its life is dependent on this water. They always need love, and they always feel that lack of connectedness and attachment. So if one cannot find it, as many of us cannot until the end of our days even, then we experience that painful hard life. Again, the idea is very Schopenhauerian, very modern, very brilliant. The idea that, as Schopenhauer says, life is essentially suffering. Only Mowlana's remedy is a bit more optimistic. It's different. It is a deep mystic model, but its central ingredient is love. And of course, this symbolic ney, which is being played through the mastery of love, so it is now at the level of redemption, is at spiritual maturity, and it's not sure that the unseasoned beginners of the way will understand him, or the pain he endured through the path, the hard path of which we talked about last session to get there. So the Ney finds it futile to speak anymore about this and finishes the recitation. Mowlana by this point not only has established his philosophical and psychological model, but also some of his first conceptual and practical methods to take us into this sea of unity with the universe step by step. These steps will continue in the rest of the prologue, and then in the whole 6 volumes of Masnavi, of which we can just read 6 excerpts, by the way, but still good enough to get some sense of this model. Before we continue to the week 2 though, this time, at this last session, not only I will ask you to reflect on everything that has been said, I want to give you a real homework to do. It is not something I grade, and here is not a college or a school or a university, but if you have come so far in this, I guess you really want to get the most out of this course, so I strongly recommend that you do this. And the practice is like this. Review all the lines we have read so far, which are in the description section of all the sessions in the week 1, and take note of all the one lines that you like, or you find useful, or you are moved by. Or just take note of the idea behind them, not the exact line. Then try to remember every time in your life that you had those feelings, those things, those thoughts. Connect them together and create a personal model. What things triggered those practices that you did, those feelings that you experienced, those ideas that you thought of? Every one of us will have a different answer, a list of triggers. For some very short, and for some people it's very long, but it doesn't matter. This is your starting point. Increase those triggers in your life, whatever they are and how many they are, while still working on developing love and listening non-judgmentally. See you next week. پاینده باشید.